What is going on? What is going on? Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Steph, what's going on? Can you hear me? Let's make sure to do a quick check, make sure everything
How you
is in
doing? How are you
order.
doing?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Blessed Sunday to you. Blessed Sunday to you. So, yes, we're
I
going to
can,
do a quick couple
Mhm.
checks, cursory checks, really quickly, make sure everything on the systems are a go. I can see that we are live here in the studio. I can see that we are live now, of course, on YouTube. I'm going to check and make sure that it looks like we are live on both your page and on the Textured group. Perfect. I can see that we are live. That is awesome. How are you doing today, Steph?
I'm good. I'm good. If you can just bear with me, public Facebook page, and I think that's done,
Yep, I see it live there on
and
Facebook.
we're good to go.
Awesome. Well, welcome in, everybody. And thank you for joining us. Today, we have the privilege, the honor to sit and chat with you, Steph. For those of you who are joining, have not, oh, give me 1 second. We got to make sure that all our volumes are down and we're not getting any interruptions. So, for those of you who are joining us, Stephanie Joseph, the founder, the producer of the Textured Hair and Beauty Show, this is an amazing one because we are now what in the 20th year of this show. And I know, Steph, a lot of people who do know you as it
Mm.
relates to the show really know you from the background. You're always in the background, running around, making sure that the show is very highly produced, that the DJ is on par, that the models and the vendors and everyone is, just working amazingly to put on such an amazing show. But on the at the cost of that is actually the fact that you're always behind the scenes and a lot of people don't get to see you up front. And so today we're going to change that for this podcast, bring you front and center in front of the cameras, and we're going to hear a little bit about you, your journey, where you've been, what you're up to, all that great stuff. And hopefully those of everyone that's actually listening in today, that they're going to get a lot of insight, not just only on you, but on just natural hair in and of itself. So, any
Mhm.
quick words for the people before we get started, Steph?
No, not at all. I want to say thank you for everyone that's joining. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. Please, we hope that this will be an interactive conversation. Also, if you have any stories that you'd like to share, please feel free to let us know. Maybe it's possible that we could even bring you up in the live. Post your comments, questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all those questions, or I'll be able to answer those questions for you.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So yes, as Stephanie said, there is the ability to add some comments, add some questions. If there's something that we're touching on that you want to hear more about, please let us know, and we'll do our best to take a pause and answer those questions for you. So, Steph, let's just dive right into this today and just get right to it. So, the first question I really had for you is, what really inspired you to start your natural hair journey?
It's funny that you asked that because it was actually nothing really inspired me per se. It was a matter of one day, I don't know if you remember this, Kev, but it was May 2001, and I came over to your place. I was like, yo, can you just cut off my hair? Because for me, actually, no, it was 2002. I remember I asked you to cut off my hair for me. And because I couldn't stick, I don't like sticking with one style for too long. And you got those little your shears out, or whatever you call it, the little razor, started shaving it off. And I was like, okay, no, there was nothing. I was just like, I just want to do something different. And that was my first time I did that big chop, so to speak. So that's where it started. And then I've been natural ever since. I've never processed my hair since May 2002.
So what really was it that made you make that decision to start or to stop processing your hair and using chemicals? What was the real catalyst to that?
Well, to be honest with you, it didn't start off. I was not on any type of journey at the time. I wasn't into like, okay, I'm just going to stop processing my hair because of any health reasons or anything like that, or to make a political statement. I just stopped. And what I liked about stopping is me trying to discover more about how to take care of my hair in its natural state. Because from the time I was born up until what, 14, 15, my mom always took care of my hair, right? So, it started off with the hot comb and the pressing on the stove. And then I elevated or graduated to the Jerry curl. Yes, some days curl. I had the little drip drip juice. And then I graduated to womanhood when I got my first perm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was never one of those, like, oh God, I have my hair perm straight all the time. Like, it didn't really, my hair never really, well, to me, when I think about it, it never really, I just didn't have to have a perm. Anyway, but what I used to like when I had a perm is, and a lot of you who've had a perm, you'll know this, when that new growth starts to come in and you can feel it, I used to like the feeling of that new growth. And so it's really weird. What I didn't like, what I did not like is those chemical burns, though. And a lot of you women that had a perm would know those chemical burns where you'd pick off the scabs. And anyway, so
Sounds pretty painful.
It just kind of stemmed from there. I just learned it was disgusted, but I learned to take care of my hair in its natural state, and I just learned to embrace it. And I was like, yo, I could do this. And that's basically how it started.
Right. And it's interesting. I'd say another question coming up here too is when you did that big chop, was it liberating for you?
Sort of in a sense, a little bit it was, because I'm one of those people that I don't always try to fit in. I like to be a little bit different. I like to be out there. I don't want to follow what everybody else is doing. So it's like, look at me. I could do my own thing and nobody's going to tell me nothing. So yes, in a sense it was.
No, I completely get that. So how would you say that this natural hair journey has changed your life?
It really hasn't changed my, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's really changed my life. Again, kind of touching on what I said before. It's more so helped me to feel like I don't have to follow the trend. And it's kind of given me that empowerment that, I don't have to, again, I'm kind of repeating myself, but follow what everybody else is doing. And that's pretty much it. I don't think it's really changed. I'm the same me. I don't think it's really changed anything.
I would imagine though that there is something that was like a hard part, right? And I think maybe it was the first inclination that you wanted to do this. But what would you say was the hardest part, or has been the hardest part of your journey so far?
I would say in the beginning, the hardest part, because I did this like 21 years ago. I still can't believe when I say 21 years that I have not put a chemical in my hair. At that time, there was no one really embracing their natural hair, so to speak. And so the hardest part in the beginning was hearing those little comments, whether it's from family or from friends, or even complete strangers, where it's like, your hair is not beautiful. So having to deal with that, like, for example, there was a time I took my son to the barber shop, and while I was there, there was an individual, an elderly man, and I walked in and I had my little fro going on. I was feeling myself. I'm like, yes, and this man had the audacity to say to me, what are you going to do with that? And I was like, that what? Wow. Like, I know he's not talking about my son, right? So I'm like,
right, yeah.
What am I going to do with that? I'm thinking, like, what? Like, what? And I asked him, like, what were you talking about? He's like, you're here. And I was just like, well, and again, this is a Black man who's asking me what I'm going to do with my hair the way that God intended it to grow, shed. And it just really, I think that part was the hardest part, or, one of the hardest things is having to deal with these little snide comments, and even dealing with stereotypes from within the community. It's one thing when you get it from outside and people don't understand the texture of your hair, but when it's coming from within your own community, that's really hard. It's really hard.
I think that raises a very
And then
interesting
I'd
point,
also
though.
say, sorry, one other thing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think the hard part about it is just learning to take care of your hair in its natural state, because it's not the same as when you have a perm, or you had the jerry comb, your little spritz here and spritz there, here, this, here, spritz,
Mhm.
there, spritz everywhere, spritz. um, but, but
I hear
yeah,
that.
learning to take care of my hair in its natural state, because it is a different texture.
And we're gonna come back to that, but I wanna kind of just comment on something you just mentioned, and I see another comment in the question, a comment in the comments here about the societal perception of beauty, and as you were talking about this hooligan who was in the barber shop asking you what you're gonna do with your hair, it does kind of make you think though that we may always assume that people that are outside of the culture are the ones that are going to have this societal perception of beauty, right? But perhaps even within
Hmm.
our own culture, there are people who have bought into that mindset as well, right? So I think sometimes we just
Yes.
can't assume that someone from within is going to completely understand, completely support, and completely believe that that is your natural state, because everyone is influenced by something, right? And I'm not saying it's right for for what he said, but it just goes to show that we shouldn't also just assume that because we're all from the same, bloodline or whatever, we're all from the same culture, that we're all going to understand, and that you're going to still have people from within that are going to have those negative opinions as well, right?
Hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
There was a case, I don't know if any of you remember this, within the TDSB, where there was a young black girl here, and it's natural. And the principal had a comment, or had some stuff to say, and there was a big
Hmm.
protest about that. And the ironic thing, it was the principal is a black female.
Mm.
So
Right.
yeah, dealing with internal discriminations against our hair is very hard, I would say.
So on the flip, I know we talked a little bit about what was sort of the hardest part for you. Um, do you have any proud moments? At a moment in time when you felt, you know what, I'm proud. I'm proud of my hair in its natural state. Any fond memories come up of your most proudest moments since you've been on this journey?
I'd say for me, my proudest moment, and it doesn't really have to do with me per se. Well, maybe it does, because it comes back to me, is the fact that my children, my two daughters, have never asked me to process their hair. I don't even think my daughters know what a perm is. Well, maybe they do, but they've never asked me, "Oh, mom, I want to straighten my hair," or nothing. The only thing they've asked for is color. Or one of them's asked for color. But in terms of straightening the hair, I think that is what makes me proud, and being able to be that example to them, and encouraging them to love their natural hair. I mean, these kids have more products than I do, so I think that's what makes me proud.
You must absolutely be reading my mind, because that was actually sort of my next line of thought. My next question was, how has your hair journey kind of impacted or influenced your own daughters? Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Not really. I think it's just,
Mm.
I think them seeing me, um just loving and embracing my hair in its natural state, um might be a and being a great role model to them.
Hmm.
Something I was gonna say and I forgot, and that happens to me often. But yeah, no, they've actually taught me more about my hair. So yeah.
Right. Okay, cool, cool. As you know, I'm gonna try to pause a little bit and do my best to navigate a couple of different things around me, and help to include the listeners into the conversation here. I'm gonna highlight another comment, and again, everyone else, please continue to send in your comments, and we'll get them as much as we can. But we see one here, right? My proudest moment is after a breast cancer journey, how it grew back quite fast, and
Mm.
it's in its natural state. So, kudos to that, and it's good to first of all see that, we're talking about after your breast cancer. So hopefully that is positive news that you've beat that, and you're now in your natural state. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic as well. Um, One thing I would imagine, I think for both men and women, right? Hair is something that can give you confidence or lack thereof, right? It's a big part of a lot of us. Would you say that your self confidence in your hair or your self confidence has just been built since you've been in your natural state, or any change between before and now?
I'm laughing because there are sometimes when I did not feel that confident, like when I had the big chop, and I've done the big chop more than once, and it's the in between stages. And for any of you who have done the big chop, you may know what I'm talking about, or you'll know what I'm talking about. And one day your hair starts to grow back, and you really can't find that perfect style because it's too short for a long style, and too, just that's really been a part where I don't on it because I don't know what to do with it. So I just kind of revert to covering it. Um, those times are wearing a hat. And I find, because I remember one time I used to do security at a school, and it was bad. And at that school, like, well, this was years ago, and I couldn't cover my head. I had a baseball cap that I could wear, but sometimes it's too hot. Anyways, but those days when my hair was like, when I had it short, actually, like I'd put on the makeup and put on my ear, like not these long ears, but just to look like feminine, because I was just not confident in the way that I was looking. Yeah.
Right. You brought me back to many years ago. I used to have my hair braided. You'd probably remember this, but um, I was also at work, and there was that in between stage between when it's your hair's too long to really pat it down to make it look like it's short, but not quite long enough in order to put it into braids. And so I completely can empathize with that in between stage, and how annoying that can be, and
Oh,
how that can wreck your
yeah.
confidence. Um, going back, and I'm gonna maybe touch
Yeah.
back on this a
Because
couple of
I
times,
couldn't,
but
like,
no, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I couldn't even braid my hair at that times. I'm like hoping to grip it. I couldn't find a good African. Some of these African people are good with the little grips, man. I couldn't find no one, and I just had to like suffer in silence
Yeah,
because my hair was nothing. I didn't like that feeling at all.
that's hilarious. That's hilarious. And as we were talking about, people, whether it be inside the culture or outside the culture, that completely, quite frankly, are just maybe ignorant, right? They're ignorant to the fact of what it takes to have your hair in its natural state, and how great it is to have your hair in its natural state. So, one question that I have for you is how important would you say is sort of education and representation in the natural hair community?
Education is very, very, very important, I would say. Especially for, well, when I say we, Black women on a whole, have never been, for the most part, I can only speak about in North America, how to take care and love their natural state. So it's very important that these things are taught. Also, one of the things, like throughout my show, I've had over a number of years where I had even white women who would come to the show. Either one, they had biracial children, or two, they would adopt Black children and did not know how to take care of them. So it's very, very, very important education to learn about how to take care of highly Black textured hair.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
even
So
they say in the CAS system, yeah.
go ahead, in the CAS system.
Oh, I was saying in the CAS, in the Children's Aid Society, I heard that there's a lot of children who are in foster care, who are now, adopted or foster home, where their parents or their adoptive or foster parents don't know how to take care of their home, of theirs. Like that, it's very important.
I would imagine that, not only this podcast, but going through the hair show that you put on every year, there's an opportunity for people to learn about keeping your hair in its natural state, right? And I'm sure that there's someone out there right now who is thinking about, maybe they've contemplated, hey, you know what? Yeah, I feel like I need to do this. I need to do this for myself. I need to take my hair back to its natural state. What advice would you give to someone who is contemplating a natural hair journey?
Okay, so my advice to someone who's contemplating a natural hair journey is to take it one step at a time. Search definitely, in this day and age, there's so much videos out there on there's so many videos out there on natural hair. Ask people, ask if you know anyone that is wearing their hair natural. Ask them questions,
Hmm.
and don't beat yourself up. Maybe try it. Try it for a, a while. So I would also say that you should really even find out about the side of putting chemicals in your hair. I know that there's actually even a class action lawsuit that's happening. Like I said, I forgot the name of the company that it's against. Okay, it is, but
Hmm.
they in BC there's they're being sued. This company is being sued because now they found out that there's a linkage between the relaxers
Hmm.
come in. So really, research, find out, and just I'd say take one step at a time. It's not easy for some people. For me, I'm just like, this is my hair that I have. It's what God gave me, and I'm gonna run with it.
Hmm.
And I loved it. I love every minute of it. For people that's being told by whether it's society or when we went through slavery that our hair is not beautiful and that our hair is ugly, it takes a toll. It really takes um a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for, a lot of, it's psychological. I was gonna say it like that. It's a psychological thing. It's easier said
Right.
than done. So when I see people knocking on people, why don't you take the perm out your hair, or you know it's not that easy for some people. So for those people, I'd say just take it easy, ask questions, research, and find out if you want to, keep relaxing your hair.
Right, right, right. Okay. And so, I mean, I know right now I can see that you have your hair wrapped up. I know you love your head wraps. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But just out of curiosity, right? You have people that are now getting some great advice from you, some great tips on, just taking that next step. How do you? I got kind of a two-part question. My first part of the question is, how do you style your hair on a daily basis?
Sorry, you chipped out there. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I was just asking how you style your hair on a daily basis.
Oh, how I style my hair. My hair is very low maintenance right now. I do have locks. I've 8 months, 8-month old locks. Um, and it's very low maintenance. My hair is wrapped most of the time. So at nighttime, or even sorry, during the day when I'm wrapping my head, I put a silk wrap on first, and then I will wrap it with a cotton wrap. And the silk wrap or satin wrap is just so that it doesn't dry out. The cotton doesn't dry out my hair. And I'll put it's not essential oils, but oils in my hair. That's it. It's very, very like I said, my daughters are product junkies, so I use their
Mhm.
hair oils, and that's it. Very water every now and then. Our hair
So I
really
was
needs
gonna,
water.
yeah, I was gonna. You kind of answered my second part of the question a little bit, which was, what's your regimen on which that was gonna be my second part of the question is what's your regimen to take care of your hair. I know we're not necessarily trying to promote particular products, but do you have a particular product or maybe just a particular essential oil that you use in your hair to help you take care of it?
No, not. I don't have a particular brand that I use. I'll use like coconut oil, olive oil, some jojoba oil. Oh, what's this other one that I use? It's right at the tip of my tongue. It's a vegetable glycerin. Um,
Okay.
and then water. It's water, water, water is our number one friend. Yeah.
Awesome. I see a question that just came up here in the comments as well that I'll just throw up on the screen, and hopefully I'm pronouncing Esther's name
Mhm.
correctly. What about coloring your hair? And maybe this is just in regards to, maybe keeping your hair natural. But if I'm understanding the question correctly, is, does coloring your hair kind of take you away from that, or do you have any opinions or thoughts on coloring your hair stuff?
Well, I've colored my hair. Again, it's all about education, right? I
Hmm.
think if someone wants to color their hair, it's totally up to them. But it's really informing yourself and educating yourself about what that color can do. There is a lot of natural. Well, I don't know about a lot, but I do know people will color their hair with henna. I've never done that. I've never really looked into it. I mean, I've colored my hair before, bright red. I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah. And if you're asking me if it takes away from being natural, do you remember that, Cat?
Mhm.
That
I
bright
do.
red.
I do. Yep.
You remember that?
It's fire red, man.
Know what I was thinking. But
Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't know. I would probably I'm on the fence for that one. I'd say it's all about education yourself on the color that you use. I think
Mhm.
it doesn't make you less what's the word? I always lost for words.
I guess it wouldn't make you less
I don't know.
natural, would it? I
I'm tongue
mean,
tied. I'm tongue tied.
yeah, no worries. I would you
No,
say that
because it's like
it's
you're coloring it, but your hair is
mhm,
still in its natural state.
right?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So just keeping your hair natural mean that you can't color it, right? I mean, if natural hair is really just about um, the way that your hair is actually processed or lack thereof is maybe the issue. But and don't I'm not a guru on hair coloring, so don't shoot me if I got it wrong. But I think it would be kind of okay. But I guess like you said, to each their own, and I guess everyone has their own journey is really what it comes down to, and it's maybe not the best for one person to say yay or nay, you shall or you shouldn't, but at least be educated in the choices that you're making and how
Hmm.
that might impact your hair is a way of looking at that. And I do see
Right.
mom in the comments. Mom does remember your hair being bright red,
Yes,
so
being bright red.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing as well. I know you've talked quite a bit so far, Steph, about your natural hair journey, and I really appreciate it. And I think a lot of the listeners are getting great value in that. If we could just switch just very briefly for a second, because I think the hair show, the Textured Hair and Beauty Show, which for those who have been around for the 20 years that it's been around, started off originally as the Toronto Natural Hair and Beauty Show, but it's been a show that has been a staple in the community for many, many years. And I would like to believe that sort of the infancy of that show started kind of in and around the same time that you decided to go natural. Could you maybe just talk a little bit about the
Mhm.
vision behind the Textured Hair and Beauty Show and what you aim to achieve by putting that show on every year?
Sure. So initially, when I did the show, it was just because there was nothing in Toronto. I had gone natural or stopped processing my hair in 2001, sorry, in 2002. And so a year later, when I realized that I was still not processing my hair, I'm like, okay, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate this milestone of me not putting any chemicals in my hair. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And then I kind of went down a rabbit hole and I started there was any type of events. Maybe there's an event that I could go to. And I realized that there was nothing, no shows in Toronto about it was dedicated to women wearing men and women here in its natural state. I did find shows in the States. Of course, the States always seem to be way ahead of us. Um, and there was a show, the Talia Wajid show, which is the natural world natural hair and beauty show. She had a show going on, and then there was Linda Mozetta Jones. She had these events called Hair Days, and where women would get together and they would do each other's hair at the home, and they just bring and all that. And so I was like, oh man, I wish we had something like that here. And again, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I looked, there was nothing. So I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Shout out to Linda Mozetta Jones and to Leah Wajid, and also um, I can't remember her name right now, but she also has a small meetup as well. And so that's how it started. And so I had a little meetup at the back of a bookstore. It's called the was called the Ashanti Room. They're no longer around anymore. Had about
Yeah.
80 to 100 people come to that event. That time, the hairstyles that there was either locks. Most people were wearing locks, or they had their hair in the. Now you have so many different styles, and but that's at that show. Everyone's like, "Oh, this is such a great idea." I had two speakers, two people
Mm-hmm.
speak, and I had about two vendors, and they're like, "You should do this on a bigger scale." So I had no plan I'm making this the way it's big. And that's where it started, at the back of the Ashanti Room on Bloor Street, Bloor and Davenport.
I do remember that, and I remember going with you to set up that day, and I remember parking down the street and running on all these different things. It was a beautiful thing, and I'm amazed at how far it's come, and I know how much effort and energy you put into putting on that show. There is another kind of final question I have for you, but I do see another one in the comments that I'm just going to bring up here real quickly. And it's a question about if tea tree oil is good for dandruff. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on if tea tree oil is good for dandruff?
I've heard that it's good for dandruff. I do know that it's really good for if you're dealing with a lot of itching, that it's good for that. I'm not, I can't say, I don't want to be definitive on it, but I have heard that it is good for dandruff. So if there's any experts in the chat that can shed light to that, please let
Yeah,
Esther
let's
know.
hear it. Awesome. Okay. And so for now, I think my sort of my last question is, and then maybe we can open it up and see if anyone else has things that they want to ask. But I touched on it. I said it a couple of times now that the hair show has been around for 20 years, and it's a very, very long time. And again, kudos to you for, I know that, and I know you personally, and I know that there's days and times where you felt like quitting and you didn't. And I applaud you for that, because it's very easy to quit, and it takes a lot of tenacity to really stick through the tough times. And so kudos to you for continuing to do it. But I know that the show has also changed over the years. So maybe just give us some insight on the types of
Mhm.
things that have changed with the show over the years.
For the most part, how it's changed is the type of women and men that come to the show. So initially, when I started the show 20 years ago, mostly that were coming to the show had locks, and then a few of them were wearing their hair in an afro. So I was really dedicating the show more to the type 4C. If you're a person that likes to, that knows about hair typing, the 4C, that tight curl pattern. That's who the show was kind of like, guess I marketed or promoted it towards. Whereas over the years now, especially within the last 5 years and a lot more, maybe even 8 years, a lot of women that are coming to the show have more of a loose texture curl pattern. So it's really changed. The demographics have changed a lot. You're seeing a lot more different hairstyles. Like I said in the beginning, now I have even a lot of white women who come with their children, their biracial children or adopted children, that come to find out information about how to take care of their children's hair. It's I think that's how it's most. It's not just those with locks, because I find that in the
Mhm.
beginning, if someone wanted to stop processing their hair, that's what they would just revert to, is just growing locks, because it's kind of like the easiest thing, so to speak. Even though locks, I find,
Mhm.
is still high maintenance.
Right. Yeah, I mean things that I'm sure that things that look easy probably are much more difficult to take care of than it meets the eye, as
Mhm.
they would say, right? So,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
final parting words for the listeners today, Steph? Any bits of advice? Any thoughts on going natural? Last words of wisdom from you.
I want to say, I encourage, if you're not, or if you have, if you're thinking about going to try it, you'll like it. I think I like it. I know for some it's a little bit hard, but learn to learn about your hair. Learn about it. It's I understand the difficulties of not having someone teach you, but there's a lot of up there now. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of great books. I bought from the library. Ask questions. Visit YouTube channels. Oops, sorry, I got a little fruit fly here that's trying to get into my mouth. um, um, that's basically it.
All right.
And I'd like to hear if there's anybody else out there that may have a quick story that they may want to share, or anything. What, I guess, the the question I want to ask, would anyone that's watching give to a little bit maybe afraid to? So they can drop that in the chat. I guess two other final things is if you can put that ticker back up. I just want to promote two events.
Yeah,
well, one
for
is an
sure.
event and one I believe is
Make sure we do
ongoing.
that. There we
So
go.
we have
Yep.
Yeah, so Celebrity Unisex Salon has presented their second annual Health and Wellness Day. That's happening this month and until sell out at Canada Services. I'm looking forward to that event. I went before and it was really great. Then is a student certification for locks. I think that will be the next one that's coming up at Iconic Academy. Please visit ModLocks Instagram page, and it's up with more information on that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap it for today, Steph. I thank you so much again for your time. Listen, anyone that is listening to this on the podcast or is watching it, whether you're watching it live or you're watching the replay, definitely a couple of ways to find out much more about the Textured Hair and Beauty Show and more about Stephanie herself. Definitely on Facebook. Make sure you follow the Textured Hair and Beauty Show page or group, and make sure you go and find that. Check that out. If you're on IG, Instagram, look up at textur'd.ca. And then lastly, here on YouTube, you can always just go into the search and look up Textured Hair and Beauty Show, and you will not be disappointed on the wealth of information and the events that are happening in the natural hair and beauty space. So definitely thanks for checking out this podcast, this video today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. I'm not going to tip it off too much, but I know we're going to be doing much more of these. So we look forward to seeing. I'm speaking it into existence. There's going to be much more, and can't wait to hear more from you, Steph. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.